Every time you go over something that's really hard, it's almost like an insurance policy. Every time I struggle in business, if I do figure it out, I'm gonna make a shit ton of money. The business I quit my job to start was never what made me money. It was figuring out a problem for myself.
You're essentially thinking big enough, then the actions that you're taking are in alignment with that.
If you have a responsibility, if you have to clean the dishes, if you have to make your bed every morning, if you have to do 50 different tasks and then launch and scale a business, you're probably not gonna make it.
You don't have the fear of failure. 7, 8-figure info guys, the number one fear is that. It's their fear of failure, but it's disguised as the fear of success. In a way, like, you turn that into your superpower.
How do you fail as an artist if you genuinely love to create? A lot of the people who are afraid in this info space are not genuinely curious about what they do.
Welcome back to another episode of Conscious Entrepreneur, where we get the best minds in the space on the podcast. As you know, we do not just give some random tactics or strategies on this channel. We actually go deep on how these people got to where they are. Enjoy the episode.
Let's go. How long have you been in Cape Town?
Like 3 weeks.
Okay. When are you leaving?
March 21st.
Wow, okay, you're here.
Yeah, I'm here for a while.
Okay, sick.
My girlfriend loves it here as well. So it's like, it's just like a nice mixture of like, you've got the nature, but you still got like, you can still lock in and work.
Exactly, yeah.
Just like such, and the food quality is really high here in general.
Yeah.
So obviously super cheap to, I mean, this place, what does this place cost a month? Probably.
I don't know per month. Per day, it's like maybe 2-3K. You drink wine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the wine out here, dude, is insane.
Oh, bro, we're in Cape Town. For me, it's wine and sunset.
It's the best, bro. It's the best. We just did a wine tour the other day. We did 5 wine farms in a day, bro.
It was it the tram thing?
Yeah, the tram. Have you done it?
I know.
Oh,
but I was told that I should do that.
It's so fun, bro.
Oh,
you and your
man,
homies
let's go.
driving, tasting the best wine.
Yo, we're most like let's drink wine. Let's drink wine instead.
Yeah, that'll hydrate us.
Yeah, bring
it's
the
good
wine
enough
there.
for Jesus.
Yeah,
good enough
exactly.
for us. What I want, dude, with you is like, obviously a lot of people know you for business, a lot of people know you for like strategy, making money, that they respect your mind. Yeah. But I want to talk about things that like you haven't fully thought through today. Cause like you like uncovering it in the moment. I want people to be able to see how you do that and how you cook in real life. Cause that to me is the most valuable thing.
Yeah, love it. I love it.
So if you were going to turn your business into a religion, or maybe it already is a religion, or some perspectives, how would you do that?
One of the best sales mechanism that, or at least the best way to market and sell people is you have to create it through an identity. So first picture, how do people want to go through life, right? There's a few things people care about. They care about love. They care about having purpose. They care to have structure. They care to have health. If I was to create something, it has to stem from like, I want to create the best vision for the people that I'm talking to. And then once I build it, then I start from the vision and then I look at their life. How should your love life look like? How should your work life look like? How should you go about doing all these other areas? And then I'll come up with kind of like a framework for everything. But I think, what's the purpose? Like why are you here? Answering that question for someone is, let's say for me, like, you know, we've talked before, but over the last year or so, like I've started talking about this idea of like building and releasing stuff, right? But I don't go in and say, oh, you should build and release. I start by like, okay, how do you want to run your business? Do you want to run a business where you have to do everything done for you and then get paid pennies every month and then end up being broke because then your team start costing you as much as your clients are paying you? So then you're in the right race, right? So then I'm like, before I try to sell you on our model, let me tell you what's the way that you probably don't want to do it, which is how everyone does it. And then I'll tell you on this other perspective of how to run, or at least how we like to run businesses, where we implement stuff. Then we get paid on implementation, but we also get paid on value because we learn stuff from the things from the businesses we implement our systems in. And then that way you get rich fast, and you also have an asset that you build with the clients. So it's kind of like that, right? Like, what is the wrong way to live? What is the right way to live?
So one of the things I actually respect most about you is just the way you think, your mindset, and how big you think as well. I think you think completely differently to a lot of people in the space, which is what I really like about you. So I was just in America. I was in North Carolina with a really good friend of mine, Matt Schultz, who you've done a podcast with, right?
Yeah.
He picks me up in his whip. He's driving a nice car. Now, I was surprised.
He finally got a nice car?
He got a nice car, bro. And he told me the story of you telling him to get a nice car. You to for context, so Matt Shields, you may know him from the online space or not, but basically just an online guy as well. And he was driving like a super crappy old car, and he almost like had some pride in. He's made like 8 million or whatever, and like he's driving
a Corolla or whatever.
And he's very, very stubborn on his beliefs. He does not change his beliefs easily. I will say that. You changed his belief though. So first of all, why did you tell him to change his car?
So I think what I said, if I try, because we did 2 podcasts, one last year and then one like maybe like a year and a half, 2 years before. We were talking about this idea of mimetic desires, right? Where someone copies others just for the sake of just you copy. So let's say you look up to someone and then you copy everything that this person likes. If this person, you like them and then they drive a Porsche, you're probably going to want to drive a Porsche. If this person runs an agency, you're probably going to want to run an agency. If this person has this type of girlfriend, wife, or they maybe want to love put towards the wife life, or maybe more of like a bachelor, then you're going to literally choose whatever they like. Then we started talking about desires, and I was like, bro, all the desires we have are made up. There's someone who's watching this video, it's going to be like, yo, I look forward to doing podcasts with this view at a nice villa, just because we're doing it, not because they inherently actually care to do it. So then knowing that all the desires are copied from someone else, then you start to think about, we all want to get rich so we can have all the things we desire. And then he, on the other hand, was driving a shitty car for such a long time, okay? And in my perspective, I also did that, right? Like I was making $50K a month driving a Mazda, right? Like $2,000 Mazda. And I was looking always forward, pushing back the idea of buying a nice car, because I was like, oh, what if I buy the car and I don't really want to, I feel like I get lost because I got everything that I wanted, right? There's always this fear of like, if you do get everything you start in business chasing, then why are you going to keep working? So a lot of entrepreneurs, at least for me, my perspective is I've pushed back a lot of the material things that I wanted because I felt like it would either distract me or have me unmotivated from actually keep cooking and keep chasing my dreams. But then after I started making good money for a while, then I realized like, you know what? All of these things that I want, I put them on a pedestal, but they don't actually mean shit. But the only people who can say they don't mean shit is if you actually got the shit. You can't not desire something until you've acquired it and realize that like they don't actually mean anything. So for me, I ended up, getting the cars, then moved into a nice little penthouse, right? So then that becomes the norm. Then the only reason why I work in business is because I'm actually wanting to work, not because I'm working so I can have the lifestyle. So by getting the car, by getting the things you've dreamed of, it changes your motivation.
Yes.
And then you go into such more of a, it's almost like a pure version of entrepreneurship, where you're actually curious about the world of business, not because you want to look good, be rich on Instagram and have a girlfriend. Like, it's okay. Like, that's great. Figure that out. Make your 10K per month, get the car. But then after, like, come play the game. Like, strip me of my car, strip me of the penthouse, put me in a basement. I'm going to wake up and learn about, about some investment stuff. And then I'm going to learn about how to build teams because I'm curious about it.
What are you learning about at the moment? You mentioned investment, you mentioned teams. Like, what are you actually learning?
Right now, I'm trying to figure out like a lot of AI stuff, right? Like, we run service business, right? Even though we do consulting, we do coaching, we have some information stuff, we do a lot of service work. So for me, knowing how AI is going to essentially become like a human who does stuff is a pretty interesting prediction and a pretty massive shift from how businesses work today. So I'm spending a lot of time learning. I'm spending a lot of time talking about it, even though I'm not an engineer, I'm not really in tech, but I'm attracting a lot of people who are building, starting to talk about it, launching offers about it to attract people who are actually building from it. Because I believe that once the world of, let's say, building AI agents comes around, there's so much shift that's going to happen. And there's such a beautiful world that's going to arise from it.
How so? How's it going to be beautiful?
Well, so check this out. I'm going to kind of like share a few insights I have. Let's say the world of info products. A lot of people make a lot of money on info, but they all go broke. You might sell to, like, how many people want to start agencies? There is a lot of people, but all those people, they're not going to keep buying courses about how to start an agency. They buy one, they buy two, then it's like, fuck that. So your market, you sell to them, to 1,000, 3,000 people in 2 years, 3 years, then you don't have anyone to sell to because the market cap, the market size is not that big. And then you also now have 50,000 gurus, 16-year-olds on YouTube who are all teaching the same thing. So now Even if there were 10,000 people who are trying to learn the same thing, now it's split up into, okay, I like this guy with dreads, I like Iman, I like this guy. So now you're actually, your market goes from it's already small, but then it's fragmented into a bunch of gurus, right? So now you go from making 10 million a year to making $1 million or to making 500K. So the model is broken because it's like, I buy this once and then there's nothing to buy from you. But then check this out. What if there's a world where instead of me teaching you how to start, let's say an agency where you sell to local businesses and tell you, oh, you should have this offer, you should have this VSL, you should go on to build it. What if I could build an agent that builds your offer? We'll go research what is the gap that most local businesses want to bridge? What are the mechanisms to bridge those gaps? Then what is the pricing model? The best way to price the product? Then that's like the offer. Okay, so maybe add some conditional guarantees to it, then build me the offer. Then be like, okay, marketing. You're gonna need a way to communicate your value proposition. You're probably gonna need a sales page. You're probably gonna need some sequences to nurture them. You're probably gonna need content post opt-in, post booking a call. Then there's an agent that focuses on that. You have your marketing agent. Then you have the sales. Then you might need to build a sales agent, a setter combined with a closer, right? Because you can train them on the script, on the calls, on the sales calls, on the whatever, and the objection handling probably better than a human can learn it. Then I'm like, why would I sell a course? I'm not going to sell courses. I'm going to sell agents. I'm going to build the best agents on my protocols and my processes. And then instead of selling one-time course for 1,000, 10,000, I'm going to go and be like, hey, you want to build a business? Okay, cool. I have this. It's data from every offer we build that we learn from the launch of it. So are you going to really run a business yourself and start it from scratch? Or would you rather have the AI agent that has built 100 offers this month and collect the data on acquisition, build you a new offer based on the data? But then every time I build you an offer, not only did you pay upfront for a fee, but you're also going to pay every time you want to switch up something on the offer, on the usage. So every time you run the flow, every time you want a new script, we charge you. Every time you want to take a sales call, then we charge you. So for me, that world makes me, I'm like, holy shit. Then if the world becomes that, then I could be a one-man team, do my content, get eyeballs, run ads, get eyeballs, have people use my AI workflows, AI agents. I still charge a lot of money up front because I took time to build those assets. But then every customer who uses my things, I get paid as if I run a software business. But then like imagine how much that changes. Going from someone who sells info where 97% of people will not execute to having where 100% of everyone will execute because they don't have to execute themselves, then that becomes a paradigm shift. So then that's kind of like a bet I'm making with a lot of the businesses we're building. Like we're starting to just attract builders and also get into the market, try to just be at the forefront of this.
How did you get to that mindset and idea that you just said there? How did you come to that?
Yeah. So it starts first with listening to a lot of people invest in companies, right? Investors don't make money from working. They make money from knowing things that most people don't know yet.
Let me just pause 1 second. For everyone listening, the reason I'm asking Serge this is so that you can learn how he thinks, so that you can learn to think in a similar way or take on that thought process. Because he can tell you stuff or I can tell you stuff, which is great. That's the fish. But if you can learn how to do it yourself, then you can actually take this algorithm and do it for yourself, okay? So this is gonna be like a different type of podcast. It's not gonna be some tactic and strategy shit. You can get that for free on YouTube. This is actually the most valuable shit, which only a tiny % of you will actually use. But for the right ones, you are literally gonna be listening to this and you're probably gonna become his client. So that's why I'm asking for it, all right? So I had to break the fourth wall for a second.
I love it, anyway, I love it. Yeah, so investors, they make money from knowing things, truths that aren't yet truths or that aren't like the consensus where everyone believes in it. So as an example, before Facebook had launched, the reason why Mark Zuckerberg is probably one of the wealthiest person on earth is because he built something that at the time was not a social network. Like, why are you building this, right? So when he built it and people invested in his company, they made a shit ton of money, right? But the reason why they made a shit ton of money is because it wasn't the norm. If you invest in Facebook today, you're not going to make much return. You might grow, their stock might grow, but it's not going to be, you're not going to make 100x return on your money, right? Anyway, the reason why I want to say that is because for the person who invested in Facebook, they had to see the potential of a social network. And then the potential of aggregating audiences and having a bunch of people, then creating an advertising model where you sell those eyeballs. And it's like, bro, I have people on this platform. I build a platform so it creates like addiction to want to post content and attract more people, then people spend time on it. Then I can charge, because Facebook doesn't create the content. They just let the users, it's almost like a reinforcing thing where the users create the content and the platform doesn't have to do anything, right? So then if you sell eyeballs to something you don't even have to create, you don't have to do anything to get people there. All you just have to do is create the habit for people to create content and consume content, and you just lay back and be like, oh, you're a business that sells lights? Oh, you can pay me $10. I'll show you to these guys. And then it's like, oh, you want to sell a course? Oh, pay me $10,000, $100,000, $1 million a month, $1 million a week. I'm going to show you to these people. An investor sees the potential of that type of business model and the margins it can have. And by looking forward to it, they're like, holy shit, this is going to be an amazing opportunity. I listen to a lot of investors because I'm like, these are the guys who know where the world is going, because their job is literally based on making bets on things that aren't yet true, but that will be true eventually. So when I'm also building a business, I don't get excited about normal commoditized service businesses anymore, because I'm like, yeah, I can start a Facebook ad agency. I could probably scale it to $1 million. I could even scale it to 8 figures. But because it's commoditized and everybody already believes in it already, the margins on the product, the margins on going to market is not going to be great, because I'm already competing with 50,000 gurus on YouTube with a specific market that's capped. So I'm going to get, I might make money, but most of the time it's going to be really hard to win, because you're competing with people who already know that this is the opportunity. So with AI, the people who are going to make money are people who are looking for applications and learning how what the opportunity, because today it's not like what I just talked about already exists. Even if it's existing, it's just a bunch of automations. But by making a bet that this is the future and I'm the first one there, even if I'm the dumbest person in AI, I'll probably make millions on it regardless. Yep. So being first at the forefront and having earned insights is the best way to make a lot of money. You don't need to be the smartest, but you gotta know shit. So you have to be smart enough to want to learn shit.
That was the one thing I was going to ask you off the back of that, is like, with the people that you work with, whether they're like consulting, coaching, done for you, what is the main difference between the guys who absolutely just crush and then the rest?
We're talking about this earlier, and I've been talking about this with my client success team. He was saying that like, it's like just like experience or knowledge and this and that. But I'm like, actually, no, because we all start from nothing. And for me, I ended up kind of like with this perspective that with the difference between someone who ends up killing it and someone who doesn't kill it has nothing to do with the material, has nothing to do with the work, because the work is everything. Like we'll scale a company and we'll be like, hey, you guys see the offer we use? Here's the sales process, here's the fulfillment, go take action. We'll implement everything. We'll build their offer, build their systems, build their acquisition team, launch their ads, done for you. But some people will still struggle. And what I realized is because the difference between success and failure is when you do hit that wall, what gets triggered in your mind? Is it this is hard, I don't know, hey Serge, like this is not working, like blah, 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 blah. Or is it like, oh, okay, I just hit a bottleneck. Hey guys, what should be done here? Or hey, let me go on YouTube, or let me go on ChatGPT. Let me look up how to actually overcome this constraint in business. So it's the curiosity to solve the problem, to want to go forward, instead of looking at an obstacle and being like, losing motivation and seeing it as a bad thing. Is like, every time you hit a wall, that wall, as soon as you climb it, is going to give you so much insight. And that insight is worth, to the degree, every obstacle comes with it an equal amount of opportunity. And especially if it's really painful, when you're struggling to, let's say you're trying to go from 0 to 1, make your 10K a month. It might be hard, but you've never made 10K a month. So it's like you're surviving as you are. But let's say you're making 100K per month, you're going to go to $1 million a month. That becomes painful a lot. And if you get to go from 100K to $1 million a month, the lessons you learn, the obstacles you overcome, become in and of itself $1 million a week insight. So every time you go over something that's really hard, it's almost like an insurance policy. Literally, in my mind, I see it like that. Every time I struggle in business, I'm like, well, I'm struggling, but if I do figure it out, I'm going to make a shit ton of money, because I'm going to take that insight and build a service around it.
What's an example of where that happened to you?
When I started out in business, I was running an advertising agency, and I was selling to coaches, VSL, running ads for them. But then, the first client was paid me 4.5K, but he's like, yo, I don't have money for ads, right? And a few months before, when I quit my job, I didn't necessarily have money for ads, and I didn't want to do outreach myself. So what I figured out is, okay, I saw some people using VAs. Then I was like, okay, let me go on online jobs that people interview a few VAs, get them, be like, hey, no, actually, I hired an agency first for $600 a month, and then he was using VAs. And I was like, okay, how much are you paying the VAs? And he's like, I ended up figuring out like you can pay them like $350, $500, $400, $350 a month to do the same work. And I was like, okay, cool. I ditched that agency, went just to the source, trained my own VA. Then I got the first client. When I got the first client, he didn't have money for ads. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I know how to get VAs. So are you cool for me to to do outreach and do the service with VAs first? Then maybe if we close the client, we can use that capital, throw it into ads. And then he's like, yeah, cool, whatever. And then when I saw he said yes, and he was open to it for a month, too, we did that. I was like, you know what? Why am I trying to sell ads when most people are broke and they don't want to do outreach themselves, client acquisition themselves? I was like, you know what? Let me try to pitch people VAs and do outreach. I had never made 10K a month. In like 60 days, I made 10K per month. In 90 days, I was making 30K a month. So if you think about it, the business I quit my job to start was never what made me money. It was figuring out a problem for myself and testing it that made me more money, even if the difference between the knowledge of the guy who couldn't make more than like 2K per month or get a client for his agency versus the guy who was making 30K per month was nothing. I still knew ads, I still knew do acquisition, I still knew marketing, but it's the thing that I sold something that solved my problems, that changed everything. But imagine if I had been like every other agency owner where I went through a course and they told me how to start an advertising agency and I just started an advertising agency. I probably would still be broke today.
I want to circle back to what you said about the most successful clients having that curiosity.
Yeah.
And now I think you've explained why that curiosity is so valuable, right? But what other attributes are there, if any, that you notice that they have? So they have curiosity. What else do like the best guys that you've worked with, what other attributes do they have?
I don't know if it's attributes, but another thing that comes to mind is environment.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever, right? Like whatever makes them successful.
Like you have to create an environment if you're going to be successful that creates space for you to generally be fully into the opportunity.
Okay. What does that mean?
What I mean by this is if you have a job, if you have a responsibility, if you have to clean the dishes, if you have to make your bed every morning, if you have to do 50 different tasks and then launch and scale a business, you're probably not going to make it. It's impossible. Because what I've realized in business is that there is so much demand in just free space to be creative and to do things that aren't productive in the moment. Let's say like learning or listening to a podcast, right? You're not going to listen to a podcast and be productive from it at the end of the day when it's 9 p.m. and you did all the chores and you're not going to do it. But if you have nothing, you literally clear your calendar, you quit your job and be like, yo, from 9 to 12, I'm just going to learn. And you create space to wonder. Learn this, learn that, learn some shit that has nothing to do with the opportunity you're in. You end up having a lot of ideas. It starts flowing, right? It's like, this book, I don't know what it was, but, Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill, all his books, he talks about this idea that we're all connected to the source, right? Yeah, I think I don't know what it's called. Is it infinite knowledge or
infinite intelligence?
Yeah, infinite intelligence, something like that, right? And I feel like it is generally true. But you're not going to tap into infinite intelligence or the source of all knowledge if you're stressed and you don't have space to wonder, right? Jeff Bezos talks about this idea of wondering, right? Like the first hour of his day, he's just wondering, just being curious about a lot of stuff. But like you're not going to have that luxury if you don't create an environment that allows you to have space. So like for me, if I don't have space in the morning, it messes up. I get anxious. Like if every day I don't have time to just have space to think, to learn something, I feel like I'm itching for like knowledge. But then it's, you have curious, but then you have to also learn how to engineer your environment to create the highest probability for you to actually, embrace that curiosity.
See, that's so interesting because it's like the complete opposite to what most people say, right? Like they wake up at 5 a.m., they go on their run and it's like super regimented.
That's crazy.
I personally can't function like that either, so I totally get it. I'm just like chilling in the mornings basically.
Yeah.
So you create that environment, you have that space to wander, and then the ideas start flowing. right? So the ideas start flowing. Okay. So let's say you're listening to this, you're like, okay, I can do that. Someone's listening to this, they want to practically execute that. Once the ideas start flowing, right, things start to come, then what?
Okay, then you go into strategy, right? So you got the idea, you got made time to learn. Then it becomes a question of strategy, right? The person who's able to learn, who's able to acquire insight and create the discipline to have space and do the work, then there's a difference between the guy who's going to get stuck and the guy who's just going to go 10x, right? Then he comes into this idea of leverage, right? Where like, do you want to make money for yourself or do you want to run a business? Then you start questioning, like you have to question the path. Then that's where it's like, before you get to the work, no, that's not important. Like you can get someone, hire someone to do anything you want to do in business. Like, so it's not the highest leverage thing you can do as a CEO is not working. There's nothing to do. It's just thinking. So then if I see the path, let's say with AI, let's say like what you just talked about, I'm going to show you kind of like how I think about it. Like now the idea I talked about, like the info space and AI agents, then I could sit here and be like, okay, cool, Serge. So there is a course that I bought. It's like $149 subscription a month. It teaches how to, code, not some crazy coding level, but just basic. So there's a path to learn that, right? Serge could sit down, learn shit. And then once I've learned shit, then I could start cooking myself. Then I could make content about it. Then I could get attention from it. Then I could sell stuff, right? But then that's going to there's a learning curve. Even if I'm the smartest guy, disciplined guy, there's a learning curve, right? So that path may not be as exciting for me, even if the path could actually work. So then I'm like, well, I don't want to do that because I have money, I have some brand, I have some attention. So then I'm be like, you know what? Instead, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use my money. I'm going to go find the kid in the basement who has the environment to do all day, every day, just learn how to code. Then I'm going to be like, you know what? I have the distribution. What can you cook? Then I'm going to point him to the right application, because even the people who build, they don't necessarily see the market as I see it. So I know things they don't. They might be good at building, but they might not necessarily know the best opportunity for their skills. So then I'm going to go find someone to build. Then I'm going to go do content about it. But even content, I might find someone who's better at me at the content because they spend time looking at YouTube every single day. And then I'm going to go be like, you know what? I could run ads myself. I could train the setting team and the sales team, but you know what? I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to go find someone who's built a setting team, a sales team, and then preferably someone who's also run operations. And then I'm going to put them together and be like, hey guys, so this is where we're going to do it. And then the first path of doing it myself could have probably taken me 3 years to get to even 50K per month, because it's really hard when you have to do every single thing. But if I have this team, I think we can get to 50K a day by next month, because I'm not trying to build a $1 million a year business. I'm trying to build a big business. And a big business, by just the definition of it, is a business that is big. You don't build something big yourself. You need a lot of people. You need a lot of daily inputs, a lot of daily outputs. So when you start with the end in mind, you're forced to do things the other way around. So then the most successful clients that we have, they're able to think with the end in mind. They start with the end. And it's like, do you want to build a 100K a month business or a 20K a month business? A 20K a month business, do everything yourself. Take sales calls. You might even make the VSL. You might even run ads yourself. But you're going to make 20K in 1 to 2 years. Because when you're doing everything, some things are not being done. Then you're just jumping from thing to thing. So nothing is actually really efficiently running at the right throughput to create 20K a month. That's why a lot of small business owners, they make 10, 20K a month. Then they get clients. Then acquisition is suffering. Then they have to be like, oh shit, I'm going broke. I just churn clients. Then it's this 10, 20K a month, 10K, 15K, 20K a month, back to back. But then if you're like, oh, I want to make $1 million a month, then you realize like, oh, this system needs to be flowing. This system also needs to be flowing. This system also needs to be flowing. Then you're like, fuck, I can't do all this myself. So then doing it yourself becomes not the way. So I would say curiosity, space, then ask yourself, what is it that you really want to do? And then the path will lay it out. You can ask ChatGPT once you've decided what do you want.
So this has basically become a masterclass of how to get to 8 figures from the mindset and the strategy, right? So to break down everything Serge is saying, obviously you've got those first steps, but then it's also about how big you're thinking, right? Because you're not thinking 10K a month, you're not thinking 100K a month, you're thinking like way, way, way beyond that, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, and this is why I said to you, I think we were rolling when I said like, one of the things I like about you is how you just think bigger. Now, I'm actually a hypnotist for entrepreneurs, so I'm more around mindset and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But I want to hear what you think about this. Why do you think? Because what you said there, I completely agree with, right? You're essentially thinking big enough. And so because you're thinking from 10 million or 100 million, then the actions that you're taking are in alignment with that, because you have to take different actions. It forces you to, right? So first of all, to take a step back, why do you think so many people don't think that big? What's stopping them from that in the first place?
It's who they're listening to. They're listening to, I don't want to call them dummies, but they're listening to people who are entrepreneurs, but for lifestyle purposes.
Like who?
I don't know. Open up YouTube.
We won't give them free advertising.
We won't do, fuck no. But like for me, like I listen to the most, I don't even find most people on YouTube. I literally go on Spotify, and I find people like business breakdowns, some capital allocators who's been studying this company in China or in Japan over an e-commerce platform. Or I was listening to the other day of this platform. It's a like all everything platform in Kazakhstan or Kazakhstan or a country, whatever, I forgot. It's a small country with like 20 million people, right? And then they're doing billions of dollars a year. And then it was someone breaking down that company of like how it was built, what was the strategy, what was how they went about building different features, right? But like, I'm sure that guy is nobody's going to listen to him even if he created a YouTube channel, nobody's going to, because he doesn't live a sexy life. He's just building stuff, just doing his job, but they don't have an attractive like personality. Like you're not listening to them for who they are. You're just listening to them based on the work. So but the issue with online is that it's nice to have a nice lifestyle and to be perceived as if you're smart and that you've done something special, but image has nothing to do with intelligence. So I try to find specifically bold people who are in their 60s. They got a lot of insights.
Who have like 1,000 views on their pieces of content as well. Yeah. Okay, so for a lot of people, who are listening to this, what you just said about image doesn't reflect intelligence, right? Yeah. That actually breaks the belief for a lot of people, because if you actually look at how most people buy, they buy based on image, right? So for you, with how you are and the lifestyle you live, yeah, from my perspective of you, I think you live quite an authentic lifestyle to yourself, right? But it's also a nice lifestyle. You're in a 20 million.
Yeah, 100%.
So how much of that is like what you want versus like marketing?
100%. For me, I will never do something for marketing. I want it to be aligned with me, because I've also realized that the audience will feel authenticity. When you're just doing this because you're buying a really nice watch because this guy has a collection of watches and he just likes to flex it online. No, I buy what I like. I like Porsches. I have a Porsche. I like penthouse because I had it on my vision board. I live in a penthouse. I like to travel once or twice a year to really nice villas because I love to sit down, drink wine, and look at the sunset. I'll do that. But I'm not, I've been traveling since like a few weeks, but I haven't even opened the camera. Like I'm not shooting. I'm not a creative director, but I'll still shoot stuff on my phone because it's beautiful, but it has to speak to my soul. It's not for content. It's not like I'm spending every day being like, okay, what am I going to shoot today? No, but will I shoot? Yeah, because it's nice. It's nice visually. It's beautiful. But for me, it's more so like it has to inspire me, not for marketing, And
I think people can feel that through you, right? Like when I was on the way here with the guy behind the camera right now, I was saying like, I can tell you actually like love doing what you're doing. I see you as more of an artist than an entrepreneur. I think we talked about this a little bit on the first podcast. And that artistry, it's like, it's felt by the people who are watching you and listening to you. And my belief is that people don't buy what you have, they actually buy emotions. And so you're giving them certain emotions through the way in which you live their life. And then sure, your mechanism vehicle is great as well, but it could be like basically anything.
Yeah, 100%. One of these days, I'm a pivot and start selling wine.
Fuck yeah, dude. Let's go. You heard it here first. Okay. So we've talked a lot about like thinking bigger as well, thinking 10x and stuff like that. So for you, what's your next 10x? Whether it's business, whether it's life.
I would love to get married. Right?
Any candidates?
No, I'm traveling, trying to find. No, I'm joking. No. I think for me, I want to settle down because I think in terms of like, I have to remove anything that is not complete for me to really go all in business. And I feel like just settling down, being in a relationship, creating a family, just getting that out of the way, then actually makes you like, okay, well, there's nothing else left. Now let's actually work for these fucking kids. Then you have a reason to work because at some point, like when you're making enough money, the desire to build something bigger, like as an example, someone who has a family, who has kids, has a different level of motivation compared to the guy who's selfishly pursuing his own stupid desires.
I just had a phone call from my best friend yesterday. I'm a little bit older, I'm 30, right? He's also 30. He just found out he's having a child, and pretty early on in the relationship, and he does okay financially, but not like millions, right? And I said, how you feeling, dude? He was like, man, I've never been more focused and locked in my entire life. He was like, emotions do not exist. I'm just building. And it's like a different gear that I don't think is accessible unless you have that motivation.
Yeah.
How much of that is like for the motivation though versus actually wanting to have the family?
I think it's for me because I'm at a point where it's like, I think like I'm okay in business, right? And like I don't have any other desire. Like it's the only desire left. I feel like, I feel like, you know, then I don't have to try to go outside, try to date a girl every 3 months. Like I'm just over that bullshit. Like it's just draining. It's actually taking away from my fucking business.
It wastes so much time and energy, right? I was that dude. I was there. Like, I was the typical guy who made like the 10, 20, 30K per month and then just like
living, just outside every.
I did that for like a whole like 2 years, and it was fine as an experience, but such a waste of time.
Exactly. So you know, when I'm talking about environment, I'm trying to remove all the distraction by just settling down, and then I can actually have a clear plan. But to business-wise, because of this AI shift, I feel like I'm gonna notice something around the world that I'm gonna be able to go all in on. And I feel like I'm in that. I'm just chilling, waiting
for that moment.
For that actual like, okay, cool, we can take this to like 9 figures or whatever, right? But I don't feel like in my current, like, you know, I was saying this on a podcast earlier, is that if I start with the end in mind, the current business that I'm running is not like a lot of people are look and be like, yo, I would love to make like millions of dollars a month. But it's like the top 1% of your industry makes a few millions a month and then they're not here anymore. So what makes you think that you're so special that you're somehow going to break the rules of the game? So therefore, if I start with the end in mind, what I'm doing is not the most optimal vehicle. So therefore, there's no point in me stressing me out like, oh, I'm not making millions of dollars every month, because I'm like, well, this is just not the right vehicle. So I do what I can. I have my impact. I cook what I can, but then I'm just patiently waiting for the right moment to actually be like, okay, let's go.
How much stress do you feel on a day-to-day basis?
I'm someone who tolerates stress pretty well, so I don't get stressed much. Just primarily also because I have a lot of context about life. Like, you know, like I think we talked about this earlier on, but like I was not born in a first world country. I was born in Rwanda, so I got to see a different way of living. Then I moved to Canada, then I got to see a different way of living. Then I started making millions of dollars. Then I saw that way. So I know that even if I was to fail, the where I would end up would still be a fucking amazing life.
So you don't have the fear of failure, essentially?
No.
So, okay, so the number one thing, I work with mostly 7, 8-figure info guys, similar guys to you. Yeah. And I will tell you, I won't say the names, but like, it's basically everyone. The number one fear is that it's their fear of failure, but it's disguised as the fear of success, because it's actually scarier to fail once you're already here, once you've already got this.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Then they're scared, but you seem to like not operate in that way because of the context that you have from where you came from.
Yeah.
So it's like, in a way, like you've turned that into your superpower.
100%. And the other thing I can say about that is, you know, we're talking about kind of like this perspective of being an artist. Like, how do you fail as an artist if you genuinely love to create? A lot of the people who are afraid in this info space are not genuinely curious about what they do. So they found this little glitch. It's almost like you're playing a game and you found this little buttons you click and then you can skip. They keep clicking it. But then at some point, the game might get updated. But instead of learning how to create a game, they just learned the cheat codes. But you're just a fucking cheater, not an actual builder. So for me, I've had to have this conversation with myself, which is why, like, okay, cool. Let's say I was to go broke. Then what? Would I be afraid? Yeah, there is a little fear of like, oh my God, I would be perceived like, oh, I failed, blah, blah, blah. But then I'm like, no, because every day I wake up learning shit and I'm like fucking excited. Then I talk about it in my email. Then I do content about it. Then I create an offer around it. Then I make money, and I'm like, holy shit. Then the next week, I'm like, guys, I learned this shit again. Then I talk about it. Then I talk about it. Then I make money. Then I'm like, oh, so I'm like, oh, I can actually do this for the rest of my life. So what I do today has nothing to do with the opportunity, because the source is my curiosity and me. So I love to come up with shit. So I've had to change my mindset from I run this business and client acquisition is the business to no, I made client acquisition. I turned it from idea to fucking over 8 figures. So what's keeping me from coming up with build and release AI and making 100 million? What's keeping me from, learning a little bit about the wine industry and content and then ads and then Cape Town and then, oh shit,
Dude, you just love building. I can if you could see like your facial expression as you're talking about that, you literally can't not smile as you're talking about that.
So that's why for me, I don't have fear, because I've learned to love the game. And now I couldn't say that I've always been like this, but I feel like I've just looked up a lot of people who actually build great companies, and it's become an art for me, and I love it. So failure is not an option. The only way I could fail is if I generally get super depressed and super burnt out and feel like I don't want to do this. Then if I don't want to do this, I'll fail. But even then, it's because I'll chase something else. So I'll fail at business, but I'll fail at the next thing. I'll win at the next thing.
If you weren't doing business, what would you do?
I think I would figure out a way to teach at the end of the day. I think I've started loving how to just research, learning stuff, right? So teaching in general would be cool. If not, I would love to get into the world of art, creativity, whatever, right? I love music. I'm not necessarily not an artist. I don't know music, but would love to do that.
I don't know. You had some pretty good tunes playing before this.
Right?
I see you like your music.
So yeah, I love music. So maybe it's the world of performing would be nice.
What would you do? How much money would you need to not ever care about making money?
I don't think there is a number.
But if money didn't matter?
What would be the number? If money didn't matter? Oh man, to be honest, I actually don't have a number, because I've realized that and it might be the reason why I'm not necessarily scaling the business like crazy, is because I feel like I'm not motivated by money anymore. Because I realized that if you're actually smart and not necessarily living a crazy lifestyle, money, you have money sitting there. So it's okay, let's say you add another $1 million to the bank, then you add another $1 million, then you add another $1 million, then you add another $1 million. Bro, I'm not spending $1 million a month, so I don't need fucking that much money to actually be fine. So I do think though, if you're bringing in income $1 mil, $2 mil, 1 to 5 mil profit net take home, you're gonna do great, right? So 5 mil net is good. I think knowing what's possible, I think 5 mil probably, I would say, cash flow.
Okay.
5 is good. Then you can build on top of it whatever you want. But I'm not going to say these guys 100 mil, 500 mil. I'm bro, just bullshit. And then most companies that do those numbers, most of them go bankrupt anyway. So
well, I think when people answer that question, they don't even know what they would do with that money, which is why I respect the answer.
So which is why I'm I don't know. I would buy this home, but even this home will be a few mil. And then what? What are you going to do? So I've not made money, my God. I'm not I cook, build because I do it. One of the things I always tell my team is I'm not going to sell until I learn something that's worth selling. So I don't sell because I need to make money. I sell because I'm holy shit, guys, we learned about this fucking stat. We found this little offer. We found this little insight. Then I get on a Webby and I'm super ecstatic. I'm guys, I'm going to kill it today. I'm going to show you some shit. And people are holy shit, this is fucking amazing. And then they buy. So I would rather learn cool shit. That's my incentive. When I stop learning or start figuring things out, then that's where I feel I would be more I would feel empty if I'm not building up my knowledge base and just being curious over if I don't have X amount of money coming in every month, then I feel like a failure. I don't really care.
All right, last question for you to wrap up. How old are you right now?
26.
So you're 26 years old, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to fast forward. I want you to imagine we fast forward all the way into the last moments of your life.
Yeah.
Okay. You have 60 seconds left. You're surrounded by your beautiful family, your wife, your loved ones. You've lived an incredible life. Okay. You've done everything you wanted to do. And you cannot leave behind any of the material possessions that you've accumulated in this lifetime to the people that you love and care about the most. Okay?
Yeah.
None of that goes to them. It disappears. But you can leave them with one piece of wisdom or advice. What do you tell those people when you've got 60 seconds left?
I have like a few quotes. First one would be, everything is achievable given the right knowledge, unless it's forbidden by the laws of nature. I have tattooed in my back. I got that from a book called The Beginning of Infinity. So you guys should read it. It's a really annoying book. I never finished it. It's really hard to read. So that is important. So it creates a belief around you can do it. You just have to find the truth. The next thing is you're already enough. And winning comes from within. It's not going to come from, outside. So like feel enough. Do it because you're it, not because it's going to complete you. That I hate people who work from a place of insecurity and a place of emptiness, because you're never ever gonna fucking win. Even if you do make, I've been in a position of making a lot of money, but then you actually start being like, okay, cool, I did it, but then I still don't feel like I'm full, right? So I've never really played the game from a place of trying to make me. It's like, oh, I'm worth it, so then I'll go for it. The last thing is just make sure you're always one step ahead of most people, because people always pay you to tell them and to help them do what you know. So those things, like be curious, learn shit faster, better than most people. 2, make sure you believe that everything is possible. You just got to find the knowledge. And 3 is, whether you do it or not, you're already enough.
Amazing, dude. That's a perfect place to wrap up. I will link your IG, YouTube below. Any other CTAs or you can tell people?
Just, guys, just cook.
Beautiful. Sweet.
Appreciate you, man. That was good.
Can I have an autograph?
No.